Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathy Schick. I'll get to more about me in just a moment. I'd like to get started on time. A couple of you have reached out to me in the chat, and you've reached out to me privately, which means only I can see your chat, and you had some technical issues. Would you please resend those either to everyone in the chat or to Eric Lech, L-E-C-H. Eric is going to be troubleshooting any issues. So you can reach Eric in the chat room. I will not be looking at the chat while I go along, but Eric will interrupt me and let me know what I'm missing. Eric, am I good to get started?
Yes, it looks like you're good to get started. I am just double checking. It looks like we have all participants muted. However, if anybody does have a specific question that you need to speak up, please let us know. We'll make sure that you can get unmuted. And please feel free to use that chat as you are working today to ask questions. I'll interrupt Kathy as she's presenting to help present any of those questions that you might have as well.
Okay, and I'm just typing in because there's someone who can't hear and sent it to me. And I'm just typing into the chat for him to reach out to you, Eric. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. I feel like I'm inviting you into my home. I wish I could, pour some coffee for you or something stronger. No judgment on days like this, right? Welcome to 5 online resources English learners can use independently. As Eric shared in the chat, you can join this presentation or just look at it later. Don't have to look at it now. I know some of you are on. I'm running 2 laptops, so I can see that some of you are already joining me and looking at the slides individually. The way to access the slides is to write down this bit.ly address and put it into your browser. By the way, it's case sensitive. And this is a lowercase l, not a capital letter I. At the very least, I would jot this down for later so that you can access the links when you wish to do so.
Just so that everyone is aware too, we'll make sure that this presentation, once the recording is rendered and available, we will put it on the recording and resources section of the website that you found this PD today. And you'll also have access. We'll make sure that the presentation link is there for you as well, so that in the case that you might lose the bit.lys or any of the presentations that you've seen throughout PD in the coming weeks, we're going to continue to house those on that site for you to reference as you need.
Thank you. I'm going to get started with our tech check slide. So as we already said, you are muted. You can unmute yourself by clicking on the mute button. Or the mute icon. We do ask that you remain muted just to eliminate the background noise. You can use the chat. If you do want to ask a question though, you don't need to use the chat. Feel free to gently interrupt me if that works better for you by unmuting and then just go back onto mute. You are also probably your video is not, I'm not looking at that right now, so I can't tell if you are showing your face or not, but if you'd like to, you can by clicking on start video. You can leave that off and we will not see you. All we will see is a black box and your name across the black box. Some of you already found the chat. Please feel free to post in the chat. Whoa, sorry about that. Please feel free to post in the chat. And of course, if you can't hear me, I won't read this because you can't hear me, but hopefully you're reading that. And please know this session is being recorded and will be available, as Eric said. So I'm Kathy Schick, as I mentioned. I'm a staff facilitator at the Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit. My email address is on the screen. If you'd like to contact me, please feel free to do so. And I am joined today by my the fearless leader of our department, Eric Lech. And I hope all of you right now in this crazy time are lucky enough to have a leader like Eric, because he's just really been our voice of calm in this storm. So thanks, Eric, for all you're doing. We're going to get started with a very brief survey that Eric is going to put up on the screen. Here it is. I hope you can see it. The question is, what is your top need right now as an educator? So you can click any one of those options. And I'll let you know or Eric will let us know the results, I think. And if you're choosing other, let us know in the chat box. Just take another minute to give you time to answer. Well, we have someone not muted. And I love hearing kids, but we want to keep ourselves. So I'm seeing the largest, and Eric, jump in if I'm not reading this correctly, but I'm seeing that the most pressing need by 55% is access to content resources for English learners. I appreciate that. That's what we're going to spend some time with today. And then we have another opportunity next Thursday that I'll share with you that may also help. Professional development for remote learning is another need, 21%. Please know we're running all kinds of sessions. Again, I'll talk about those at the end of this session. So thanks, Eric. Any comments in the chat room on this, Eric?
We did see just a couple of additional others, how to support students with limited to no access to internet or email, as well as teaching low incidence autistic support, things like that, and possibly our diverse needs for our students. And like we said, as you are looking forward into your own development over the next weeks, we continue to, and Kathy will talk about at the end a little bit, the number of options we're continuing to add to our sessions. We're trying to keep them short, straightforward, and on topic. And that way you can get just the things that you need out of them. But know that we're always open for more suggestions. So hearing some of these other ideas on things that you need will help us in better planning sessions for the weeks to come.
Thanks, Eric. So as you were doing that, I was going to share this and I didn't move fast enough, but I just wanted to remind everyone to take a deep breath. We have a lot of crazy responsibilities right now. We're frustrated, we are overwhelmed, we are confused, we're worried about our students, worried about our kids, our parents, everything. And just a reminder that we only have to go 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 step at a time. And please do not see this session as just adding to your sense of overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed. Just if you can find one resource today that you want to explore further, that would be enough. That would be great. So today we're going to talk about 5 resources. And I do want to just put this clarification out. I really made this session more about resources that will help our English language learners continue to learn English, maybe not always through content. So a few of these resources are truly English practice, not content that has support for English learners. And that's so important because we have to remember many of our English learners, especially our beginners, they are in homes where English is not spoken at all or may not be spoken at all. So by being out of school, they have lost their opportunity to practice speaking and hearing English other than maybe television. Secondly, for many of our English learners, they haven't been in this country long enough to have developed really good friendships with their peers. So they may not be like your own children, maybe on FaceTiming with friends and in chat rooms with friends. Our English learners may be more isolated than some of our other students. So it's important that they continue to learn English or practice English for this extended period of time. So these are the 5 that we're going to talk about. Some will be new to you, some may not be. And let's get started. And just forgive me, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a little nervous because I am not super good, as Eric probably is laughing because he knows this is so true. I'm not super confident in my ability to just open tabs, close tabs, and so forth. I'm so afraid I'm going to close this meeting out instead of closing a tab. So bear with me. You're probably going to see me as I minimize my screen and jump around. So bear with me. Let's get
Kathy,
started.
as you jump forward, I just want to make a point, and I think this is really important that we all remember as we're moving into this. And I appreciate you being very upfront with everyone. And I think that's something that as we move into this, as you're starting to work with students in a new way, we're all going to be doing some things that maybe are uncomfortable or different to us. And we need to show grace, be patient, and show kindness through all of this. And ask that from our students as well. It's a great way for us to model how we react when we are faced with adverse or different situations. So keep that in mind as teachers. There are so many things that we could be helping our students learn at this time beyond just content. And this is one of those great ways to show them how their adults react and become proactive in situations of adversity.
Thanks, Eric. I think you probably read this slide. Nothing really to explain there. Just check out these resources yourself before you just send them to students. Resource 1. This is Study with Andrea. It's a website, and also, and on the website, she shares podcasts. So I'm going to just click out now and take you to her site. I was going to have all these tabs ready and open, but at least one of them crashed for me this morning. So I just wanted to run them fresh. Here we go. When you get on her site, you're going to see this annoying pop-up to subscribe. Just minimize that. There is paid video content, but there is plenty of free. This is really a way for not your beginners, but your probably your older students and those that are not newcomers to practice their English skills independently of you. So you can send them a lesson through email, send them a podcast, or you can send them a list of a few podcasts you think they would like. So let's take a look here. This is Andrea. I want you to scroll down to this section when you're here. It's free audio lessons, but before we go there, let me just keep scrolling down on this home page. You can sign up for these free, first lesson free. I think her subscription is something like $3 a month, but I'm not positive. You don't need it for this purpose. Here you'll see the different ways that your students, if they wish to subscribe to her podcast, can do that, or maybe even their parents. Here are some recent episodes. All right, and that's pretty much all on the home page. I don't want to make you dizzy, but let's move back up where it says free audio lessons. We're going to click on Learn More. And then you can listen to her latest podcast, or look at these few that were most recent. And when I first came on here, I thought, oh, this is for free, all I get are the most recent 5, but that's not true. So keep scrolling down and you will find previous lessons. There are a lot of previous lessons. So we can see one from March 21st, March 5th. You can see the consistency of what I'm showing you. But scroll down till you see older entries. This is the only way I found to access her lessons. So every time you hit older entries, another batch, another load is shown. So I'm going to take you to one that I liked from August. Idioms related to food, I think is the one. So let me just show you one. If you're unaware of what a podcast is, it's an audio recording. So there is not any video feature to this, but she speaks very slowly. I think she sounds very experienced. So here's the podcast we're going to listen to. Before I hit the red arrow to turn it on, just as a reminder, you can come up to the URL, copy that, and then paste that into an email to students to share this particular podcast with them. I will tell you there's text here with this, as you will see, but this idioms resource page is no longer there. So this is from August. I don't know what happened, but just so you know, that's not there. But let's just listen for a minute.
Kathy, the sound from that one is not coming through. It might be by use of your headphones. That might be why.
Oh, okay. So let me change my sound because that will be a problem. Let me go back to, let me take off my AirPods. Oh, my fancy little AirPods, and I have to just. All right, let's try again. Thanks, Eric. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, let's try this again.
A podcast. I'm your
Can you hear
English
that?
teacher, Andrea Giordano,
Yes.
from StudyWithAndrea.com. And I'm so happy you've joined me today. Today we are going to be talking about 20 clothing-related idioms. I've talked about this in previous podcasts, but idioms are a huge part of authentic English. English speakers use idioms all the time. And if you don't know what the meaning is, you're going to get lost in conversation quickly.
Okay, so that gives you a sense of the expression she uses, and the pronunciation I think is very good, and she slows down. So you can see that she also, as I said, put some text here. What is a lemon? These are the idioms that she's talking about. I want to go back to my slide. This is the idiom that I just shared. No, I guess I shared. Did I share the food one or the clothing one? Shared the food one. This is another fun one. This fun learning English with Siri or Alexa. I included that one because I thought it was a fun idea. Basically, she talks about that you can't fool Siri and Alexa with poor
Kathy, I'm going to pause you just 1 second. We're still having a little bit of trouble. Kathy, can you hear me?
Clearly. So she gives you a list of commands to say to either Siri or Alexa to practice your pronunciation. I thought that was kind of a fun lesson. She is also available as a on YouTube. So let me click on that. Here is Study with Andrea on YouTube. And whenever I go into a YouTube channel, which I'm going to talk, still having sound issues. Can you hear me, Eric?
You definitely became a lot lighter, and I don't know if you could hear me. I tried to pause you before, and I don't think you heard me.
No, wait, I can't hear you at all.
Yep.
Hold on. Hold on, Eric.
Thank you all for your patience. Again, this is definitely an area where we're continuing to hone our practice.
Can you hear me, Eric?
Yes, I can hear you fine. In those last couple segments, it sounded like you were very distant, and the computer sound was very distant as well. And I wasn't able to interrupt you, so that's why I quick reached out to let you know.
I turned my Bluetooth off. I think that may have had something to do with it. I am so sorry, everybody. Well, let me take you back to where I think we were. I was saying that she also has a YouTube channel, and that's what I've taken you to now. Jump in, Eric, if I need more clarification. When I come to a YouTube channel, I always go to the video list. So I'll click on that. So you will see that here are a lot of her podcasts, but she also does have some videos. So you might want to look through these, and you can send these to your students. They can view these on their own. I like the podcast because I think it's a good way for you as the teacher, if you're looking to share some content that they can do on their own and improve their English speaking, not necessarily your content, but improve their English. These are some good lessons. Any questions about this resource? And I do have a note here in the chat room. Please share your experiences. So Eric, is there anything that I should stop and talk about that's in the chat room?
Nope, I think we have the audio worked out. We've got some positive comments that the audio sounds much better now, but no other comments about this specific resource.
Okay, and if you use this one, this was new to me. So if you use this one, just let us know in the chat. I'd love to know. I'm moving on to resource number 2, and it is Common Lit. This one is probably familiar to many of you. I love this resource. Again, you can find content here that you can share with your English learners that they can use on their own, because there are supports built in to the literature that's available in this library. So some of the features you'll see on your screen: you can create a free account. There's things you can do without the free account. There are tutorials for teachers. You can create a class, you don't have to. You can choose a lesson, a singular lesson, or you can look at more of a theme. You can track student progress if you decide to create a class. There's multiple different languages for translation. And there's a feature that the text will be read aloud to the student. Let me just jump over here to the free trainings they're offering right now. These are time sensitive, and then I'm going to go into the website and show you. So, you know, like all of us, they're also offering some free webinars, and you can see that these will be updated weekly. But they have some, you know, some information at the bottom if you're using Google Classroom, how you can use Common Lit, and this goes on and on. So do check out these free trainings and that page. But let's go into Common Lit. And right now you can see I am not logged in. I did create a free account, but I'm not logged in right now. So this is what you can see without an account. I would suggest that the first thing you do is just scroll down through this home page, and you'll see what's free for teachers, for administrators, and for districts. Hope I'm not making you dizzy. It is very simple. With the free account, you can choose a lesson, share it with students, track progress, as we said. They now have some reading passages in Spanish, which is new, and you can access the Spanish library there, but there are other languages for translation. So let's scroll back up and go into the free for teachers, which is the digital lesson library. And again, I am still not, you'll see from this little icon, I'm not signed in yet. I'm going to, I think, in a minute. So first I want to draw your attention to the left side. There are a lot of sorting options and filter options. If you are a district that uses, that identifies students reading Lexile level, you'll see that you can put a range in, and you can sort through reading materials based on Lexile levels. You can use grade levels. This is where I mentioned that there are themes, so you can choose from quite a few themes, which will gather together a variety of reading materials based on that theme. Genres, devices are not laptops and other things, it's literary devices. You can choose by that. And then you'll see that there's the Spanish, you can look at Spanish text. But I also want to draw your attention to the top across the bar. You can set up a class. You don't have to. And you can just pull up any one of these reading materials without having any account. So let me pull Dr. Martin Luther King. Now this is what you can assign to students. They will have a reading passage. And I just want to come over here quickly to the activities section and show you that I think this is where you need the account. Let me just see. Nope, didn't need it for that. Okay. I was looking at something, and I know at some point you'll want to have the free account because you'll be locked out of something. This take a tour icon, I don't usually pay attention to those on websites, but this was very helpful to me. This takes you through you know, a few features. And if you're going to start anywhere, start with that. First, let's talk about some of the supports and why this is a good resource for ELs, English learners, to use independently. First off, you can increase the font size, which I love. You can assign this text by putting it into your classroom, or you can click on the URL and email it to a student. I tried emailing it to myself, and they will get exactly this screen just without you having a class or anything. Here on the right, if you can follow my arrow, you can have this read aloud. So let's click on that. And do you see the speaker, the volume icon is now on the left side of each paragraph. So it's not just going to start at the beginning and keep reading. You click on an icon where you want it to read, and it will read that section. Let me give it a try.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great leader. He inspired many people. He brought about changes that are important to everyone in the United States.
And
In
then I come up
fact,
here and
he's-
hide the read aloud, and that takes that away. One thing I was disappointed in was I couldn't slow down, and not all of them are the robotic voice. Some of them sound better than others. Moving over to the right of read aloud, there is a translate, and this is another great resource. If you explain this to your kids your EL kids in a meeting or through a PowerPoint slide that you go through some of these features, they should be able to do this on their own. So to translate, they'll click on translate and they'll set a language and look at the list of languages that they can choose from. So I'm going to choose Arabic. And at first it looks like, well, nothing happened, nothing translated. And that's because, again, I have to go to these icons to the left of the paragraph. So I'm going to click on this globe icon, and a pop-up screen appears, and there's the translation for that paragraph. I have no way of knowing, I apologize if these are great translations or not, but they are there. And I can click out of that, and I'm going to come back and hide the translation. A new feature is that students can click on and annotate some text, and they are able to do that on their copy, and then when they submit their assignment, you would see their annotations. So continuing with a couple more tools, guided questions. When I click on guided questions, you'll see that, let me click out of that. You'll see that this Q1, click the Q1 icon to preview the guided question. So by clicking on guided questions, embedded in the text are these little bubbles with Q for question and the number. So I click on that, and here's the question. So you can ask them to do that. You can use assessment questions and discussions. So there's a lot here that the kids can do. And as I said, you can assign this and they would submit their answers to these things to you. At the top.
Kathy, before you move on, I'm just going to give you a quick comment. Sasha chimed in and said the translations in Arabic are awesome and they looked fine. There was a little question about independence as well and what we think about when we're thinking about independent learning. And so, one of the things that I'm seeing from the suggestions you're providing is that when we think about that independence is that you don't need to be online synchronously with your students to always help them through some of these things, but that if you provide this resource, it's something they can work on their own, rather than just setting a student loose on something.
That's exactly my thinking. When I think of them working independently, I think of resources that have embedded supports that they can work on without you, the teacher, being immediately accessible. So a tool like this, yes, of course, you're going to have to, depending on the age of the student, you're going to have to walk through some of these features. And I would do that with all of my students because this is not a tool just for English learners. This is a tool or a resource for all learners. So you might want to go through with your students, do this little tour, do a couple, point out a couple of these supports. And then when you're assigning this as reading, your English learners, along with all of the students really, will know where they can do read aloud, how to look words up and so forth. So yeah, that was a good point. We should have discussed that in the beginning. I really struggled with, believe it or not, I've spent a huge amount of time choosing these resources, but it is difficult because everyone's idea of what is independent and every student's idea of what is independent work is different. And at this crazy time, I can't we don't know if your students are working truly independently or if they have parental support or sibling support. We don't know what their devices are like. We don't know what their level of tech savvy is. So it's a very, broad term to say to use independently, but optimally, these are resources that some kids will be able to do without you there because of these supports. And that's how these were selected. I hope that makes sense.
Excellent. A couple other questions that just came up as well. Will the read aloud translate into the language that you select?
No, I did not figure out how to do that. I would play around with it, but no, I did not figure that out.
And can you select specific grade level passages?
Yes. So going back to, well, let me just quickly show this before I leave Dr. Martin Luther King. So here I am on the text tab, but I can also find paired texts. So there's other texts if I want to make a theme. And notice each of these texts has a grade level recommendation in green, and then a Lexile level in blue, and then related media that I could assign, and answer key and a parent guide. So there's a lot here. So let me go back to the library. And when you asked about grade level, that is one way that you can filter. So this is 3rd grade and up. And I'm going to move on, just in the interest of time, that I want to be mindful of our time. So I'm going to move on, again, giving you a taste of it. Hopefully it's something that you'll want to, spend a little more time with if this is an option for you. And let me go back to mine. Okay, so Rosetta Stone. This is probably not new to most of you, but I just wanted to include this because it is so independent friendly, even for our youngest learners. If you are not familiar with Rosetta Stone, it is for adults, businesses use it, so forth. It is for children of all ages. It is very interactive, very engaged, highly engaging. You work at your own pace, and right now it is 3 months free. You do not have to do a lot of hoops to get this. At the bottom of their homepage, it says access Rosetta Stone for students for free, and click on learn more, and you'll go to that. And I purposely am going to show you what you have to do. So when you come in, you'll get this free for students, and where it says learn, it defaults to Spanish. You'll want to change that to American English, and then you'll set up a password, and you do have to put, this would not save, so I have to do this. You do have to put in a password and email. And agree to the terms. Now I already got started. So the first page a student gets to, it's so easy. I really, I just think this is one of the most independent possibilities. So we'll just start with a basic language, Unit 1. If you want to show your student, they can come to the menu and they can skip Unit 1 and they can move up to a higher unit, and it will keep growing and keep moving them forward. But I started with Basic 1. Lesson 1 includes a core lesson, pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. And hey, by the way, if you have kids at home of your own who are a little bored and want to practice learning a language, they can go on and learn any language they like using this. Let me just show you a core lesson. We're going to move through this one quickly because I think it's just so user-friendly. So the core lesson that I was in, make sure your audio is on. I think it might make me check. Yes, I'm going to continue with my current progress. I don't want to reset my score. It's going to make me set up my microphone again. Here's how I do that. I'm going to click on begin. Just wants to check my mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm set to go. And here's the lesson.
The girl is eating. The girl is drinking. The boy is eating.
So now I have to pick which of these pictures says aligns with the boy is eating.
The boy is drinking.
Clicking on that. Okay.
A girl.
A girl.
A girl. A boy.
A boy.
A boy.
Okay, so did you notice that when the microphone turned blue, that was my opportunity to repeat? And if I repeat it wrong, it would give me a set, you know, not a green circle. So I'm going to go.
Kathy, a couple of questions popped up.
Yeah.
First, for the free Rosetta Stone accounts for students, can a teacher create those accounts for students so that they can manage them? Or is it one account per email address to set up the Rosetta Stone?
You know, I didn't look at that. I believe it's one per account, per email account. However, I didn't read too much what they're offering for schools, but I did.
I know a number of these companies have offered some opportunities to create accounts like that for schools.
Yeah.
So it would just be worth taking a look at that language with whatever announcement they've made for students. I would envision, like I said, a lot of companies have, in light of our current situation, have opened up 2 to 3 months of free use for not just individuals, but for schools to do some management. And they know that we're looking for that.
Yes.
And then another question was, what if a student does not have a microphone? I'll start with my end of that. Many of our more modern devices do have a built-in mic without a separate specific mic. However, if they do not have a microphone, Kathy, are there any other thoughts? Is this a tool that they might need to avoid?
Well, it probably wouldn't be my first choice of tool then, but they could do things like the vocabulary and instead of the pronunciation pieces. And I'd like to hear from the teachers who, I know there's ESL teachers on who use this, so please let us know if you have any thoughts on that.
Actually, we do see from Carmelina in here that her students love Rosetta Stone. It's the best thing for those non-speakers in level 1, 2s. Her high school students love it. And she did say that her students that don't have earphones or headphones speak into the computer. Again, typically that computer having its own microphone built in. And then we did get some feedback from a school that already does purchase Rosetta Stone that they've received an email that they can get additional licenses for free right now. So even if you are a subscriber, but maybe need additional licenses for students that you haven't been using it with, this might be an option for you as well.
Thanks, and I'm looking at the time and I'm going to keep moving. And I'm willing to stay on the call after we get through these resources, but I just want to keep moving for now. So Rosetta Stone, you know, keep that in mind. Thanks for that good feedback too from everybody. Scholastic has some really good resources right now, again, for COVID-19 resources. I'm going to take you right to the resources for teachers page. Again, going back to, is this really independent? It can be if you assign some of these things and explain to kids that explain to your English learners that there are some supports for them to help them read and do this work independently of you. So let me go to these are the two I want to talk about, TrueFlix and ScienceFlix. TrueFlix is what you would think it is. It is reading nonfiction. I'm going to take you into one. Let's go into American Indians, and let's go into this first one. There is a video you can watch. Please, if you're going to show this to your students, show them how to turn on closed captions. And let me show you where that is. So closed captions is right here. And
Is
I'm
it
going to
true
show you
that
something with closed caption here. Do you see it says captions off and caption setting? And it's kind of hidden right here, this EN. That's putting closed captions on in English.
the Apache Indians sent messages with smoke signals?
All right, and going back to the reading piece, the support here is it will read to you, I don't think it does the title page or the table of content page. But we can click on read to me, and you can even slow it down.
The Apache Indians. The Apache Indians are a Native American group that has been living in North America.
And there are, on many of these pages, there are unknown words are defined. So that may not seem like a lot of supports, but just having that option to have it read to you is a really viable EL support.
Quick question. Do you have to set up an account to access Scholastic? Or could you access that without a free account?
No, I don't think let me just check my notes here. No, I don't think I set up an account, and everything I've shown you is free. So if you do have to set up an account, it was pain-free and free. So I don't think I did. I think if you want to set up a classroom, then you have to.
Okay, and then the other follow-up question as well, are the TrueFlix options available at all in Spanish, to your knowledge?
No, I did not see them in Spanish. And the Science Flicks are videos, which also do have some reading pieces, but I like the themes. And the videos are, let's go into systems of the body. So you can watch it and you can read it. The video, again, explain that you can put on closed captions, and the read it for this piece has turn read aloud on here, has look up a word. Correlations are standard, so that's, the kids don't need to look at that. And on the left, you can see all the extra resources that are available. But I want to show you the experiments. There's a lot of really cool experiments on here that they can watch. The careers in science are videos on various careers. And there's, again, a lot more resources in here. You can go down a rabbit hole. But the reason I shared this is there are some accommodations for English learners with that read aloud, with the ability to put closed captions on, and the ability in some of the videos to slow down the speed, which I'll show you when we get to YouTube in just a minute. Learn at home, a lot of options here. And again, I'm not going to go through these, but the reason I included it is there are opportunities to have things read aloud, to look up words, to have closed captions on videos. Very important.
Quick question there, Kathy. Are there links when you're in the Science Flicks? Is it easy to just share out a link from those Science Flicks?
Yes, I was able to do that. And I believe on the other one, you could even do PDFs, but let me show you. So this, watch it. You could share this URL and it would take to this page. And I tried that on all of these.
And if you could stay on that page and just go right to the top of the page, we did have a question about sharing to Google Classroom. I want to point out at the very top right corner of the page, there is a Google Classroom icon. So that would typically mean that the resource that is there could be easily shared to a classroom. When you click that icon, you'll likely need to sign into your Google account in order to make that share. But whenever you see resources like this that have that classroom icon, for those of you that are considering or going to be jumping into using Classroom, these are the easiest resources to share to a classroom because it'll send the direct resource directly into that student group.
Excellent. I'm, again, looking at time. I'm going to move on and then we'll slow down and you're welcome to stay. But for those of you that have to leave at 12:45, I have a few resources here, and the common theme is these are all YouTube channels. So I just wanted to touch base, making sure that you're clear that when you share a YouTube channel, let's go to this Learn English. This was new to me. Learn English with English Class 101. This would be for older students, I think. You might disagree. So when I come into her channel, students have the option of subscribing, as do you, of course, for free. And if it takes you to the homepage, I come to the videos and you can see right away that this person is definitely on her game, getting some new content out recently. So these are some, I'll show you one of her videos.
Little Red Riding
You
Hood.
will have to listen to the commercials through these unless you have or your students have a YouTube account, which I don't.
Let's start the story a different way.
Sorry
It
about
was
that.
dark inside the wolf.
Skip the ad when you can.
As a verb.
I was
Has a
watching this
couple
one
of different-
earlier. So just again, Please remind your students they can turn on closed captions. Also in YouTube, you can click on settings. I know many of you know this, but we're all in this together, learning all these new different tips and tricks. Click on the settings. The playback speed will be normal unless you change it. You can change it to 0.75, and let's hear what that is like.
Different meanings. First, it means to ask for information, to ask.
Okay, so you can hear that slowed down her speech enough to make it a little more comprehensible perhaps, but without making it sound strange. And of course, they should, if your students are unaware, you can teach them when you do a quick little tutorial, if you need to, that they can back up and go ahead. So this is one YouTube channel that I'd like you to take a look at if you think it would work for your students. A lot of lessons, you can send them a link. Another one that is just getting a lot of press right now is Authors Everywhere. Their authors are, again, look at this, 2 hours ago, 2 hours ago, 15 hours ago. Everyone's putting new content out for you. These are authors doing read-alouds. But they're not just read aloud. Some of them have activities. Some of them are illustrators. Some of them are former teachers who are authors. Some are giving writing prompts or teaching you how they find their ideas or what it means to have a protagonist. So there's a lot here. Again, I'm sharing this.
Get the fuck off the table!
This is something use, I don't know where that went, sorry. This is something you can assign and they can look at on their own by, again, reminding them of using closed captions, slowing down the content if they need to, rewinding, listening to it a second time if they need to. And Story Online. This one is a great YouTube channel, but I notice it's not being updated as quickly as their website. If you are not familiar with Story Online, these are actors reading their favorite books. And let me just show you, go to their website, and these are being added minute by minute, it seems like, just adding a lot. But again, when you click on these, you can share with students that they can, I didn't check on this one, but on most of these, you can slow it down and add closed captions. I'm going to keep moving and ask, or just share with you a couple other resources before we go. And I hate big resource dumps because it overwhelms me. So don't go here if you're not mentally ready. But we do have the ESL teachers. I started a Google, oops, there's our time, we're done. I started a list and some ESL teachers have been adding to it. It is a Google Doc with many resources. By the way, did you know that Khan Academy is available in various languages? So here's Khan Academy in Arabic, Chinese, Korean, and Spanish. Just a lot of resources here for English learners. So feel free, the ones we use today are here in addition to others. Feel free to access that. Please join us next Thursday at 9:45. I'll be doing another presentation, 5 tips to support English learners in any content classroom. These won't only be online tips, but tips like if you're creating your own content online or paper and pencil, some tips to keep in mind. And also next week on Thursday at 10:15 to 11, there is an open forum for English, what it says English learners. That is not correct. It's an open forum for English learners for their teachers, for ESL teachers. I'll change that. You can access our professional development calendar through this link. Through this link right here. We have so many other, here's what CLIU is offering. Here are all of our PDs that we're offering. So here's the ones I told you about for next Thursday, open forum for ESL teachers.
And please keep checking back to that. We are continuing to add as soon as I get confirmation from our cadre of instructors. I am putting new things onto that calendar almost hourly at this point. So please continue to check back to that and let us know when we have popular sessions so that we can rerun them and make sure that recordings are available as well.
Thanks, Eric. So for those of you that have to jump off, I'm sorry I kept you a couple minutes late, but if you, thank you for joining us. If you're able to stay another couple minutes and want to just have some dialogue, I'd love to hear in the chat room what resource you might explore further as a result of today, or what your questions, comments are, or if you have something you'd like to share. So please, please use the chat room. And while we take some time to wait for that, I do want to point out on this last slide that if you have downloaded this presentation, and at the bottom here, you'll see the bit.ly again, bit.ly address. We do ask you to complete this exit ticket if you are seeking Act 48 credit for participation today. The exit ticket is a Google Doc. Will take you not much time at all. And also here is my email address if you have any questions for me. So let's just take a minute, see if anybody has shared anything in the chat room.
We have a lot of thank yous for all the great resources. A couple noted that they're really looking forward to the Khan Academy in multiple languages, Scholastic, Common Lit that are new to them. So certainly a lot of positive feedback. I've been adding that exit ticket link as well. I'll put it in one more time so that if you are in the chat, you can simply click on the link and get right to that exit ticket. And yes, I believe Kathy is using a Mac for her presentation right now.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to share that with everyone. I am using a Mac and these were Google Slides. And I'm right now using the Mac microphone and camera. Nothing special. I don't have any special equipment. How do I complete the exit ticket? I think you shared with how to do that with the link.
Another nice share there that a lot of museums and zoos are having virtual tours on their websites. I'm taking advantage of that at home here with our 7-year-old as he's going to jump on to one this afternoon, I believe at 3 o'clock. I forget which zoo, but certainly a lot of organizations are opening up their doors for education right now.
You know, and I think we all would agree, we are so appreciative. It's amazing. It's such a great sense of community. But the little caveat to it is anybody feeling like me that it's a little overwhelming because there are so many resources. I almost get like decision fatigue on where to even look first. All right, I don't see any other questions. I'll stay on another couple minutes. Again, I understand if you have to leave. Hey, a couple of you emailed me and said, I plan on joining, but I have my kids at home, so I might have to jump off. And I would just like to say hats off, especially to those of you, including Eric, who are doing all of this with children in the house. Yes, you are so right. This overabundance is also something to think about for our EL families, considering many are just trying to survive. Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I said just pick one thing. We don't want to overwhelm our kids in the big scheme of things. There's so much social and emotional components to this that we should be paying attention to. We certainly don't want to overwhelm our kids. 2 toddlers and a newborn. You get the prize. And the prize is you get to stay home longer with your 2 toddlers and newborn. Are we allowed to log off once we've completed? Of course, the session is over. I'm just hanging out in case anybody else wants to have any questions. Thanks for joining us, Sasha.
One of my favorite reminders to people at this time is, you know, as we consider how we are looking at continuity of instruction for our students, you know, many school districts are looking at, for right now at least, providing enrichment, review, and I encourage teachers, even as we move into other types of instruction, with our content, less is more. With engagement, more is better. So if we can at least be making connections with students, providing some sort of resource that can be consistent for them at this time, those are the touch bases that I think are most prevalent and needed. So absolutely.
Hey,
I
and
s-
I'm sorry, Eric, Sasha, before you go, thanks for saying that we're awesome to Eric and I, because I do not feel awesome right now. And I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. I'm feeling very incompetent. So thank you. That means a lot. What are recommended forums to reach our students? Eric, do you want to take that one?
Absolutely, Courtney. A good question to be asking right now is, what are some things that may already be familiar to your students? If they are used to using any sorts of Google tools, whether that be Google Docs, etc., Classroom is a very natural extension and easy way for anyone to get started. Certainly, if there are other formats or tools that your school district is using, I always recommend that you talk to others. You know, if you have a team that you teach with, try to provide some consistency in that way so that your students don't have to go from one thing to another. Some teachers are even just creating simple websites or using Google Docs to create lists of possible enrichment and review right now to share to students. So we're seeing the full gamut of options and ways that we're connecting with our students, but Classroom is an easy one if your students have any familiarity with Google tools.
And Eric, when you said the word consistency, that's something I'm going to really hammer home in next week's training. Is be as consistent as you can for all your students, but especially your English learners. They just can't handle learning too many platforms too quickly. Eric, I don't know what to tell Alice. I clicked on the exit ticket, but it did not take me to it. Thanks, Kate. Thanks,
I
Kate.
put in the full link before I was putting in a shortened link. Sometimes, if you, depending on filters that you might be having on your computers, things like that, the shortened links don't always work. Let's see if that full link works for you. It should take you to a Google form to fill out. If not, Alice, I will certainly send you an email with it in as well.
And Eric, would you remind everybody that there's still 27 people on, where will this recording be?
Certainly. The recording will be on the same CLIU Ready PD site where you see that calendar in the front. Along the top part of that page, you'll see that there is a tab that is for recordings and resources. So if you go ahead back to that, yep. At the very top, if you go to recordings and resources, the tab there, that'll take you in. It'll go by date. You'll see that even yesterday's presentations are already linked for you. We're trying to get them out within 24 hours, but please be patient with us. We have a lot of sessions going on. And certainly if we have any problems with the recordings, we'll get the resources out and try to re-record it another time.
And by the way, if you're interested in getting on some of these PDs that are hot topics, like getting started with Zoom, we only can put 300, not only, we never thought we'd need more than 300. We can only put 300 participants in a meeting. And this morning's session, I got turned away. There were more than 300. I think there were over 400, 500 registered. So those people that weren't able to get in live will have to, use the recording. But if you want to get into something like getting started with Google Classroom through our PD sessions, log on early is my suggestion.
And please know we're using that information as we see high registration numbers to add additional sessions. Again, we just ask for patience as we embark on a new way of providing support to our teachers.
Yes, here's the bit.ly someone asked for to be able to see the presentation. Can you send the link to the Google Slides?
I just posted that again into the chat. Today's presentation link, I posted again into the chat, so that's there.
Oh, good question from Leslie. When you go to these PDs, is it who tries to log in first or who signed up first?
It's just who tries to log in first. The registration that we asked for, it was really to help us and give us information as to what we needed to prepare for. Like I said, as soon as I saw last night that we were going to start exceeding room capacities, we started opening additional sessions, and we are in the process of being able to add some rooms that can house larger numbers. That won't be for all sessions, Unfortunately, capacity-wise, we can only put so many of those rooms into place, but for our most popular sessions, we are going to try to switch to what's called a webinar room instead of a meeting room, which can hold more. So continue to watch back for those. Like I said, we are going to rerun a lot of those sessions. We know Zoom is a really popular one right now, so we have another session this afternoon on Zoom, one tomorrow morning, and a few coming early next week. Same thing with Google Classroom. Tomorrow afternoon, we have a Google Classroom session, as well as we're planning on adding some more right in the beginning of next week. So please be patient with us.
And Leslie wants to know, how soon can you, in advance, can you log in? That really depends on the facilitator and when they log in.
Most of the facilitators are trying to log in about 15 to 20 minutes in advance of their sessions. So that would be your typical time frame there as you're waiting to get into those sessions.
And maybe the IU has changed up their participation numbers to 1,000. Have you heard that, Eric?
Like I said, that's something I'm working on. Just maybe, like I said, it won't be for all sessions, but we may be able to get a couple rooms open that will be larger for some of those different audiences, especially some of those really high interest topics right now. So we're working on that. Like I said, it's one of those situations where we, in a very short amount of time, far exceeded what we expected in this first week, but we appreciate everyone's patience as we work through the beginning stages of what we're trying to do to provide a different level of support for our school districts. We just continue to ask for your patience and grace as we navigate this with you.
Hey, I will share with, there's only a few people left on, Eric, so I'll share that when Eric asked the team to start putting together these professional development trainings, he said, let's get them started. That first week, we probably won't have any participants, so it will be a good opportunity for us to get familiar with how to do it. And yesterday, the registration numbers started blowing up. Like I said, I think there were close to 500 people registered for the getting started with Zoom. So we were pleasantly surprised at how many of you were interested in getting started with this professional development. What a tribute to teachers. I hope the public knows everything you're doing. Thank you. Okay, Eric, I think I'm going to end the meeting. If there's no other questions, and of course my email is on the screen, so please reach out if you have a question that you think of later. Good luck to all of you. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I hope your workday is almost over and that you can find something fun and healthy to do this afternoon for your own sanity. So take care, everyone. Keep washing those hands, and I hope that I hear from you again next Thursday for the next ESL session. Take care, everyone. Eric, thanks so much. Couldn't have done this without you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your afternoon, Kathy.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.